What is up, guys, and welcome back to Rising Thrills, and welcome back to another episode of Rising News. And yes, we're back at it again. There's a bunch of new news stories. I feel like over the off-season, there's not, as many parks open and, not as many things to do, but there definitely is a lot of news stories breaking and, generally big news stories. Not to say there isn't big news stories over the summer season, but definitely a lot more, from fall to spring, that period, there's a lot more major stories than in the summer. So, jumping right into it with a lot of major stories. Okay, guys, so the first story that we have to cover today is that Hersheypark made an announcement a couple of weeks ago, and that is that the boardwalk will open for summer splashes 100 days to new water play areas, a 1,000-gallon tipping bucket, 4 body slides, a water coaster, and more are waiting for you in our 11-acre water park. And that is to announce that they are announcing a new splash area. And at the end of the 2025 season at Christmas Candyland, I noticed that there was a lot of construction going on at the boardwalk. And when I took a closer look, I saw that I believe it is Sandcastle Cove is what it is called, that was completely demolished, and they were pouring footers or some sort of cement piers in that plot of land, and now we have seen some renderings here from Hersheypark. The renderings, of course, it's mostly something very minuscule, of course, just, some water play structures and such, some splash areas. Think of the small area that's there right beside Breaker's Edge water coaster. When you exit there, that whole splash area there, they tore it down. From what I heard, there was some problems with Sandcastle Cove, some structural problems or something was going on with Sandcastle Cove, so they had to remove that structure. So, just different splash areas and different like fountains, and I heard there was going to be like palm tree water fountain type things and all sorts of water splash areas. My opinions are, I do think they do have a lot of areas for people to splash around and water play areas, but this is nice because this will not have a queue, so that is one thing that they mentioned. It's not something with a queue, so you can just walk right into it. Now, of course, that will mean that it'll be more busy, but, this is great for, like, small children and such. They did also mention and you can see on the renderings that there will be like rubberized decking there, so it won't be as hot as the concrete in the summer, because the concrete likes to absorb a lot of that heat and it gets really hot in the summer, so it should be a little colder to walk on that, and it won't be burning your feet. And also Hersheypark did mention that the Bayside Pier, which is right next to Sandcastle Cove, will be remaining in the 2026 season. So there was, some people saying, what will be happening with Bayside Pier, but they did say that will be remaining in the 2026 season, and it's just Sandcastle Cove that they had to tear down, and they're replacing it with a water play structure. A nice new thing for 2026. I am a little disappointed that we're not getting anything else for 2026. I would have liked to see a lot more, and there's a whole confusion around Tidal Force. A lot of people were saying, 2025 might be its last season, and there were the markings and such. So, will 2026 be its last season? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in 2026 with Tidal Force and, the rest of the water park and the rest of the park. And also another thing that the park did say about all of the construction that's going on behind Candemonium and outside of Chocolate Town, they said, we promise that this isn't us and this is just a township doing utility work. But, I guess you can believe that, but I do think it is a township doing it. I don't doubt that it's a township doing it, but the question is, I'm sure this is partly for the park. It's in some way it does tie back to the park, but I'm sure it is a township doing it. So, just something to keep an eye out for, in the Chocolate Town area and back at the water park with Tidal Force, and then this new attraction coming in 2026. So that's all I really have to say about Hersheypark and 2026 and all their additions. So moving on to the next story. Okay guys, so moving on to the next story, and that is that Six Flags Entertainment Corporation sent out a press release on February 2nd announcing that they would be starting to have regional park passes. So basically, with the passes, of course, in the past that they've done, the past 2 years, I guess now, since they've started the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation, of course, you only had either a pass that would just get you into your home park, or you could add on the all-park passport. But now they announced that they will be doing regional park passes. So what this means is, we'll go down to some of these. Actually, we'll go over here and see the different ones. So this is the East region, which includes Six Flags Great Escape, Six Flags New England, Dorney Park, Great Adventure, King's Dominion, Carowinds, Six Flags Great Adventure. So that is the East region, and they have different regions such as the Texas region, the West region, and the Midwest regions. Now, one thing some people have mentioned is that this isn't necessarily set in stone, the parks that are included in each region, because it does say subject to change in the bottom right corner of all these images. But, at least for now, this will be available. But, of course, it does say subject to change. That's for multiple different reasons. Of course, we heard that whole thing with the Enchanted Parks deal going on. So, some of the parks might be sold off. Or, I do feel like, even if parks aren't sold off, I do feel like they will rework some of the regions, because some of these kind of don't make sense. And this is a lot different than the way they split it up for management. So I do see them reworking this, because some of this just doesn't make sense. Because I would say that they should, in the East region, they should have Darien Lake and Luron, and maybe Canada's Wonderland. So I do see them reworking this a bit, but it's definitely interesting to see them do this, because they had said that they wanted to do something like this since they first merged, and they had said that they would be looking into doing, looking into doing a pass that could get you into all of the parks, or even regional memberships or passes. They did say that, even when they first merged. So it's interesting to see this finally coming out. And I do think this is good, for the average person, because the average person isn't going to be going to every Six Flags park. So it is kind of annoying. You live somewhere in between, Dorney Park and Cedar Point. Those are two different regions, so the regional pass wouldn't really work for you. So, that is something to keep an eye out for. That is something to be thinking about is, depending on where some people live, it wouldn't really work for them. So either they would have to get a all-park passport to get you to every single park, or they would have to get a regional park and just go to the parks in that region. Now, the thing is, if they did rework which parks were in each region, they would still run into that problem in different places. So they're always going to run into that problem. It just depends on how major it is. If there's a lot of people living in between two parks, then I would think they would do it. Living in between two parks and going to both parks, and I do think they would rework it to those two parks being in the same region. So, I'm sure they're thinking about that. And another thing to note here is that they did confirm that Knott's Berry Farms, new for 2026, Montezuma, the Forbidden Forest launch coaster, will be opening in 2026. They did confirm that, and this has been a big thing. I believe it was originally supposed to open in 2023, so, it's been a rocky road for Montezuma, so it's good for them. It's good to see them confirming that they will be opening Montezuma's Revenge in 2026, and I can't wait to see what people think of it. It looks like it'll be a good coaster. But that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely a lot of news stories to catch up with. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That is all for today's one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you go down and do that. Make sure you like, comment, and share. That really helps out a lot. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.